U.S.-backed forces in Syria have taken back the city of Raqqa from the Islamic State terrorists. It's a big win against the militants who for years called that city their capital. Celebrating in the streets where they previously lived in fear, we're told, among extremists and who terrorized the public with crucifixions and beheadings for acts as simple as smoking a cigarette. A U.S. military spokesman says only about 100 militant fighters are still in Raqqa, and that booby traps are right now a bigger threat than the enemy. Some images to show you in our slideshow this afternoon, and here you'll be able to see a soldier waving the Kurdish party flag from a destroyed building in Raqqa. The U.S.-backed Syrian Democratic Forces fought a 4-month battle against the Islamic State, which left most of that city in ruins, as you can see here. Here, two women hug each other as they escape from the intense fighting. This picture from a Kurdish media group reportedly shows some of the Islamic State fighters rounded up and in custody at a military base, decidedly not martyrs at the moment. This is a significant and symbolic victory over the terror group that once controlled large sections of Iraq and Syria, but analysts warn the threat from the Islamic State is not over. It's just evolving. Our national security correspondent Jennifer Griffin's at the Pentagon this hour. What's the latest from there?
Well, Shep, it's not quite over, but it's close. At a press briefing earlier today, a U.S. military spokesman told reporters that 90% of Raqqa has been recaptured from ISIS and roughly 100 militants remain in the city. But that's not the biggest threat to U.S.-backed fighters there.
The fight in Raqqa is more about a fight against IEDs and explosives than it is against ISIS.
Highlighting the dangers of those roadside bombs, Colonel Dillon said a U.S.-backed Syrian commander was killed while walking in Raqqa just yesterday. 350 ISIS fighters there have surrendered in the past week, but the pending fall of the ISIS de facto capital doesn't mean the end of ISIS yet. Colonel Dillon said the fight will continue in eastern Syria, where ISIS leaders have fled in recent months, setting up a new capital. ISIS only controls 3% of Iraq along the border with Syria. Overall, about 6,500 ISIS fighters remain in both countries. But questions remain about the hundreds of U.S. troops in Syria. Senior U.S. and Russian military officials, we've just learned, met face-to-face last week for the second time in a month as both countries seek to stay out of each other's way there, Shep.
They're careful to point out that there is still a threat from the Islamic State.
Absolutely. The Pentagon is concerned about what happens the day after Raqqa is liberated. Where does ISIS go next? No one is resting on their laurels here at the Pentagon. There is no question when a terrorist group loses its capital. However, it is a big win. Today marks exactly 3 years since the U.S.-led coalition formed to fight ISIS. You might recall when ISIS took over Raqqa, these enduring images of ISIS parading in the streets and this armored vehicle doing donuts in the traffic circle. Today, U.S.-backed fighters recreated that scene by doing donuts of their own to celebrate. Officials here have warned that while ISIS is being crushed in Iraq and Syria, the group will likely go underground to other countries like Yemen, where the Pentagon says for the first time U.S. aircraft bombed 2 ISIS training camps yesterday, killing dozens of fighters, Shep.
Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon, thanks.